I'm going to get the ball rolling. As I mentioned, my name is Terri Paddock. I'm here with the wonderful Rosie Holt and Daniel Clarkson, who is the director. So this play, Churchill's Urinal, has been written and obviously performed by Rosie, as well as Michael Lambourne, who's going to be joining us in a moment, and directed by Dan. And you can applaud that now, so it's so great to see you guys again. We were reminiscing beforehand. I mentioned I do a lot of post-show Q&As, and I have done a post-show Q&A with Dan and Rosie before, which was way back in the dim and distant pre-COVID era, 2019. And it was a fantastic comedy, adaptation kind of The Crown, right?
Yeah.
Which you wrote and directed,
yeah.
and Rosie starred, and it was absolutely hilarious.
It's got a step here.
It's called a what?
Got a step. I don't know if you've seen all the shows where you go, 2019 Crown Jewel. It was a quiet year that year.
But we didn't do it here. We did the Q&A at Wilton's.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it went on.
It went on. It had a life. So that was in 2019. Something happened after that, Rosie. So we had a lockdown, and then your career kind of took off on a different trajectory. What were you doing in the lockdown that has kind of led to where we are today?
Well, actually, I mean, talking of the Crown Jewel, before lockdown happened, we were due to take the Crown Jewel to America. We were about to do a 6-month tour. It was a really funny play by Dan. It was basically me and an actor, Brendan Murphy. We were playing all the roles in Netflix's The Crown, including the corgis. And it was very good fun. So the week that we were due to start rehearsing was the week that the whole country went into lockdown. So I felt terrible because I'd sort of handed a notice of my office job and thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I was, I went back to live with my parents over lockdown and then started posting satirical videos, and they took off. I think, because as a lot of you know, it was a time where we were all on the internet a lot because there wasn't anything else to do. So it was a good moment to post things online.
Who has seen Rosie's videos online? Oh, great. So quite a few haven't. Okay, so we need to explain what these videos are then, please, Rosie.
Well, a lot of them were, I would take existing footage of Tory MPs talking on morning TV, and I would take them out and put myself in the footage so it would look like I was answering it. So, for example, when Boris Johnson said that he couldn't say about the lockdown parties until Sue Gray had interviewed everyone, I just did a mic take of it with my MP going, look, I don't know whether I was at one of those parties until Sue Gray tells me if I was at those parties. And it went very viral, and a lot of people thought it was real. I had 3 MPs calling for my resignation. AC Grayling called me a bald-faced emetic. And Philip Pullman said I was appalling. And the then head of, no, it wasn't UKIP then, what was it called? What was UKIP used to be called?
Brexit Party. No, it was UKIP and then the Brexit Party. And that was
whatever
UKIP,
it was.
Brexit Reform. That's
the head of that called for me to stand down. So it was very strange. But yeah, from that I was able to do more and more videos and build up a following. So it was very strange because it was sort of very circumstantial, and also at a time which was obviously awful for everyone because the pandemic.
You became known for these piss takes of Rosie Holt, Tory MP.
Yes.
But you're not specific with your party mockery. So when we got a new government, you now do videos that are not.
Yeah, my MP character, she's crossed the floor to Labour. Mm-hmm. Actually, I did just a little plug, I did a Radio 4 pilot, which you can still find on BBC Sounds, called Crossing the Floor, about her crossing to Labour and really not understanding anything about Labour, and Labour not really being able to help her. Because it feels like no one in government really knows what Labour's direction is.
Okay, so equal opportunity piss taking, that's good. And this character, though, is a separate character.
Yes, confusingly, I wrote a character that is also an MP, which wasn't ideal. but yeah, it is a different character.
Okay, so and you had you've had obviously great success online with the MP satire. You've also taken that as stand-up, and you, I believe, worked with Dan on the stand-up show
I
around
had
that.
to. She became very famous and didn't want to do the Crown Jewel anymore. And also the Queen died. It's which one was more? Yeah. So yeah.
And so, what was that like? And why then did you want to go from doing a stand-up to a stage play?
Well, I trained as an actor, so I went to Lambourne many moons ago, and I love acting. And also, when I had this idea, it just made more sense to me as a play rather than a stand-up. I really love doing stand-up, but it's a different medium. And I wanted to do a show where you could feel that there are all these sort of outside forces coming in on her, and I felt that it would be conveyed better through the medium of a play.
Yeah. Okay, Dan, then bring us into how you got involved. First working with Rosie on the stand-up stuff, and then from a director's perspective, what's different for you about working with her on a stage play as opposed to...
Well, I mean, Rosie's a brilliant actress, and I mean, I knew her back in the days of acting and watched her stand-up sort of take off and rise. And it was a pleasure working on the stand-up show, and weirdly enough, when we started this, it had this sort of stand-up crossover in it, and we tried that, and we tried to see, can we incorporate both? But you stopped caring about the character as soon as Rosie sort of put it to stand-up, and then you didn't believe that this was a person. And so we were like, okay, well, if we take it away, and I still think there's elements of slight stand-up in monologues, like when she comes off the phone and starts talking to the audience and addressing that, and I think, because Rosie, you do that very well. And you put an audience at ease.
Yay.
Oh, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. That's no, carry on.
I'm
Very
Michael
interesting.
Lambourne. Thank
I'm
you.
Michael Lambourne.
It's much
Right.
different
Thanks
without
so
the
much.
makeup. Yes, sorry, continue.
The end. No, I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, so we try to sort of incorporate a lot of it, but to really sort of get this character who's trapped. And I think the really important thing, there was a review recently that said, oh, you can tell they don't have money because there's only one person doing the show. And you go, no, that's not the point. The point is that you feel the isolation of the Chancellor is really trapped and no one's coming to help her.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and worse. And I think it tackles so many issues that Rosie's cleverly put together in this, and just the isolation of, I would say, women. You've got that. The I was about to say isolation.
Women's issues?
Women's issues. I was going to say politicians. Fuck politicians at the moment. They're not doing. Yeah, they can be isolated, but just well, no, I shouldn't say that. Not. No, that's really rude. I mean, sort of like we're so sort of. I think this country is in a mess at the moment where we really are struggling to know what it is that we're sort of aiming for and trying to do, and we've got these. I mean, can you tell I'm a centralist from the way I'm talking? That, okay, but we just need to bring everyone back together, and I think Rosie brought a great play where it's saying, you know, we were given so much hope and we don't know what we're doing anymore, yet the other side doesn't know what we're doing, yet everyone's going over to the far right because they don't know what they're doing. Then the left's coming in, and it's just this sort of manic chaos, and I think Rosie brought that chaos up well by bringing a urinal to life. And you know, who can sort things out better than the spirit of Winston Churchill's urinal? That's going to get our country back on track.
There are so many things I want to touch on there, but I first of all want to say this is based on reality, right? Like,
Yeah, the
people know
urinal-
that this did cause a tabloid sensation when Rachel Reeves noted the Churchill's urinal.
I thought you were going to say the urinal was possessed. Winston Churchill. But yeah, no. Well, Rachel Reeves basically said she was in an interview she was going to get rid of this urinal, and she said I'm going to smash glass ceilings and urinals, and then I thought it was funny, and I followed the story and found that she couldn't because it was an object of historical significance.
There we go.
So
Now, before I get to the audience questions, Michael, I wanted to bring you in on a few things. One, like Rosie and Dan, you also have a history with the people on the stage. Tell me how you know Dan. This is not the first time you've worked with Dan.
No, I worked with Dan 20 years ago. He was Tweedledee, I was Tweedledum, in the Darwin Library Theatre. So 20 years ago we worked together, and we've been friends ever since.
And why did you want to get involved with Dan and Rosie in this project?
Because I've always admired Rosie's work, and Dan, I've had a want to reconnect again and get back to the fun we had all those years ago. So it was nice to get the opportunity to work with Rosie.
And how many different voices are you channeling in your performance?
I don't know, far too many to.
Far too many.
Far too many.
Would
to
you
count.
consider yourself an impressionist?
No.
No.
No. Just an actor who does
Nor would anyone here.
No, I don't. Thanks very much, Dan. That's why we work so well together. I set him up, I went poof. No, I've never considered myself an impressionist, just more an actor who enjoys doing voices.
Is there any particular voice in this show that you most enjoy doing? Obviously, Churchill, you get down pat. But Kemi Badenoch, is that like a...
Yeah, my Kemi was really good. No, I don't do her. I don't know. Churchill's the one I enjoy the most. That's been the most joy of being part of this, is connecting with Churchill. I really like podcasts and discovering about history. I listen to them while I go for runs. So connecting with Churchill and what he meant to the country, was really interesting for this project. So didn't you just want it to be, I'm him in a urinal. I wanted to actually have some knowledge of his position, because I don't like the idea that we look at history through our lens all of the time. I think a lot of the stuff of my perspective is there's a time and a place for certain individuals, and it seems that in the chaos of that time, because you talk about the chaos we have now, but obviously what they had in the end of the 30s was terrible. And I think there's something of Churchill, a man for those seasons. Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm keeping you up.
And I was going to say also in the news round sequence, I think I heard Dan's voice. Maybe.
That's mainly me.
Yeah.
That is down to budget, I suppose.
Oh, there is someone else in there as well, though.
Oh yeah, your daughter.
My daughter's in that one. Yeah.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
you're Isabel Oakeshott. Wow, that's good. I know her. Okay, who had their hand up? Yes, here.
You answered my first question about the Chancellor here having more in the way of convictions than the Rosie Holt MP that people might be used to.
Yeah.
But I guess the other question is, it's relentlessly set in the real world, quite a depressing world.
Okay,
You're trying to
yeah.
do comedy as well,
So
did you turn up or down?
I'm just going to
what you
repeat
wanted
so
to do?
people in the back can hear. So he's noting the difference between Rosie's online character and this Chancellor character, but also that the play is very up to date. So you obviously have very modern references. Are you updating it on a sort of constant basis?
And they're it's a depressingly in the real world.
And it's
so
a bit-
many references, but you're known for comedy. So did you dial up or down the comedy that you
Okay.
wanted to do when you started?
So he's saying she's such a great comedian. Is it difficult to dial down and up at the same time in a stage play?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I had sort of an interview before the play opened, and he was sort of saying, well, what are you addressing? And I said, well, I think female MPs get a lot of abuse, and I wanted to talk about that. And he said, well, that's not funny. And I'm a firm believer. I think you can make most things funny, and I also, what I love about political humour is I feel it's a new way of addressing something. I think if we all approached everything with anger and all the kind of, and there is lots of awful things going on at the moment. If we approach that with anger, there's definitely a place for that. But I think comedy really has its place. I think it can help people to look at things in a different way, and even sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it can just be really cathartic, and I think it's kind of good to laugh at. And I've always liked to laugh at things that I'm frightened or concerned or worried about, and I guess I kind of wanted to do that with this show. I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
thank you.
But I was going to say, I think comedy is a way that we've always used to get messages across. I mean, you go back, even I'm going to go back to Shakespeare and say you've got the fool in King Lear, and he's the only one who can get the message through to the king by using comedy. And I think it's today, you even look in a school playground and kids aren't quoting the latest political speech they've heard, they're quoting SNL UK and they're quoting political sketches, and that's how the message is getting across. And I think that's how you can get the message to people of going, hey, we can laugh at this, but this is really happening and maybe we should change it. And otherwise, well, you laugh or you cry, don't you? So laughter's better than crying.
I'm glad you're watching SNL UK. I still haven't known. Maybe it's Sky, it's something. But
Yeah, now TV.
Yeah,
So,
I wanted to say also there, as you guys have touched on, there is a very serious point, particularly about female politicians and the abuse they receive. And I think in the week when the real Chancellor was berated and I felt put in a very threatening position when she was giving a live interview outside of a garage. You know about this, presumably. Does everyone know about it? But you know, it's scary, isn't it? And I suppose even you are not a real MP, but a lot of people thought you were. How much abuse did you get online? And do you still get it?
Well, not so much now because Twitter was kind of the forum where I really thrived, and Twitter is now it's just I can't really go on it. It's horrible. But yeah, I got a lot of abuse, not just by people who thought I was an MP, people who knew I wasn't, but just hated me. And I think there's a real difference between you know, you talk to anyone who's got a big following online and they'll have received abuse, but it's very different for a woman. All the abuse that I would get would be sexualised, and of course you don't get that if you're a man. I mean, actually, the letter I read out that Sophie gets, the email, I mean, that's putting word for word from something I was sent a few months ago. You know, it's just sort of like, it's, I think for female MPs, I think, I've only talked to one or two, but I think it could be pretty nasty.
And it is such a catch-22, isn't it? Because for your own personal safety and well-being, you know, there's an argument to say just come offline, but at the same time you've got to use those platforms, and particularly when you have things to promote and messages and causes that you want to talk about. It's how do you balance that? You just stay on there?
I think especially like with MPs, as they want to be kind of front-facing and they're trying to adjust to the new digital world, and some of that adjusting is really cringeworthy, like through TikTok and things like that. But I think it is difficult. I think it's increasingly difficult to negotiate. I think people are more angry, but also people now can convey that anger very quickly, very easily online.
And a huge amount of them will be bots or AI driven persona. That's true. Yes, here.
Besides Rachel Reeves, is your character based on any other female MPs?
She's a little based on Emily Thornberry, who I really like. And what I like about Emily Thornberry is I think she's really interesting and strong, but she's also been quite gaffe prone a few times.
Sorry, and then it said in the beginning of the preamble that there was another female MP before Rachel Reeves?
No, that's the fictional character.
Oh, that's the
Yeah. Yes, here?
Yes. First of all, I totally agree. We're from the United States, so talk about messed up.
Yeah.
People have it really well. And we have wonderful female comedians in the United States too. But my question is very serious. The attacks on reproductive rights in women in the U.S. are shocking and disturbing. And I'm just wondering, are you experiencing the same thing here? Like, you know, women are bleeding out in parking lots because they're suffering from miscarriages. Women are dying from illegal abortions in the United States again. So I know it's a serious subject. We're here about in 1 minute or whatever you want to give me. Can you tell me what's going on here? I work in the reproductive rights.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's absolutely horrific and really, really scary. And just like the overturning of Roe versus Wade, I mean, it's just shocking. It's kind of things that you thought. I think we all like to feel. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is naive, but I felt kind of growing up. You feel that we're all progressing as a society. We're all kind of learning. And I think what's horrible in America is it feels like it's so quickly gone back, and it's going back, and that's very scary. I really hope that nothing like that happens in this country with reproductive rights. And
Is abortion and birth control accessible?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
In the UK, it is, and I hope that stays. And I feel that any kind of voice that there are a few political figures who kind of like to row that back, but they are quite few and far between, and they have the sense to not be too vocal about it, because I think it's.
But there definitely there's a lot of money pouring into the UK from the hard right and particularly Christian organizations in the US who fuel things like the Tommy Robinson.
Well, also you're already seeing bits of it in Reform. I think Matthew Goodwin was sort of saying that what we should be doing is She was talking about sort of taxing unmarried women over 35, and so there is definitely a kind of view of women that is kind of cropping up in British politics, which is a little bit scary.
And there's terrible misogyny. I mean, with the real Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, they refer to her as Rachel from accounts, you know, to belittle her position. And Matthew Goodwin was the Reform candidate in the last by-election. Yes, here?
Hi there. Two quick questions. Will the writing, I think this is the first outing of the play, or
Yeah.
will the writing evolve at all, do you think? If some or any, or not at all? And secondly, how do you get this material out to an audience so that you're not basically preaching to the converted?
Ooh, good question. Yeah. So, is this fixed, and how do you get it
Well,
seen
to-
by a wider?
Well, to answer the first one, no, it's not fixed. We're taking it to Edinburgh, and I'm pretty sure we'll change things. I always find the frustrating thing with comedy, whether it's a comedy play or stand-up, is that it's really only putting it in front of an audience that you find out what really works and what doesn't. Also, one thing we wanted to do with the show was to make it feel very relevant, so we kind of, although it's got a very kind of a plot that is kind of immovable, we want it to sort of feel grounded in reality, and that will change. So yeah, I think it definitely will morph and change for.
I think that throwing up in the book would be very good on loudspeaker.
Right, we'll take that. You don't
Yeah.
get royalties, though.
Dan, it's currently slightly over an hour, but if you're doing it in Edinburgh, will you take it to 60 minutes?
I think, no, we're going to run at 70 minutes. The main difference, it won't be in the thrust, which we only found out halfway through rehearsals that this was in the thrust, which is a brilliant day to come in when you've sort of choreographed a play to be playing end on, and a lovely urinal to play. I don't know if anyone got stuck in those seats. If you do, I'm so sorry. We did everything we could for
tried to get
sidelines.
it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think things have to. I mean, we had, what was it? Our dress rehearsal was the same day as the local council elections, and we were there going, "Come on, Keir, just hold in there, please hold in there. Just give us a couple of nights." So, I think with this speed that politics are changing at the moment. I mean, we were discussing back in. I grew up in the days of Thatcher throughout most of my childhood, and the idea that a prime minister would step down when something wasn't going right was almost unheard of when she did. And now we're seeing these like every other week. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to step down, we'll get another one, they're going to and it's this speed politics have started. I think hopefully we're going to start addressing, maybe we should put that in.
Yeah, well, definitely by August when the festival is, you know, we should have a
don't know,
leadership challenge
exactly.
essentially. I saw another hand there. Yeah.
I was just going to say, because you said it was going to be maybe stand up before, and then you thought actually this could be a good play, and like you said about 70 minutes. I mean, do you actually start the process to think, right, we've got to get it to this length, or got to make sure, because otherwise we've got 45 minutes of material, or something like that, or was there stuff that you thought, oh, we can't put that in?
Yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about your writing process, Rosie. And is this the first play that you've written? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never felt that I was sort of constrained by a time limit. I think originally I had the idea of it being in very much in two halves, so that there would be an interval and then the second half is completely crazy. And I think what's been slightly tricky when you're just doing a 70-minute all the way through is you kind of, you're having to sort of take the audience with the gear change in quite a quick way, which I think if you've got a longer play, it sort of allows for a bit more. That said, I think it works better, especially, I think anything kind of political comedy works better if it's snappy and relatively short.
I noticed when Michael comes from behind the urinal, it adds like great energy that you are on stage together. Is that something that, for you as a performer and you coming on and from backstage, does that change? Is that something that it's just perceived, that kind of change in energy, or do you feel it?
What change in energy in my? I think he gives them the play the kick up the arse at the point.
And the choreography of the phones.
that as Dan is wonderful. Yeah, it was really, really
But
good.
it's strange enough, when we were casting for the Urinal, we did look at Impressionists, and then found that you needed a really good actor like Michael, because you needed to feel empathy for a urinal, which is no easy feat. And so that's why we sort of went with, well, there needs to be an actor and there needs to be a chemistry with Rosie and Michael. And I think when you came in for the casting, it was, we all sat there and went, yeah, that's the chemistry. We believe that toilet. And that, my favourite moment is when you've got the Chancellor sat there in the urinal and this urinal's comforting her, and you really feel this empathy. And I was like, wow, it's not just empathy for Churchill, which is hard for some people to get to, it's empathy for a urinal that used to be owned by Winston Churchill. And he does it all.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Michael, though, I just want to know, is this like a career?
I love where this is going.
Yes. Like, have you ever auditioned for a urinal, or like, what is the next best thing after auditioning for a
Well, there
urinal?
were 3 years in my career where I didn't play a human being.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a variety of shows at York Theatre Royal where, yeah, I played everything but. My first job was the Gruffalo, so I was a fox, a snake, and most of my work has been within physical theatre, working for companies like Toll by an Idiot, Complicité. So the idea that all I have in this is my face has been an interesting exercise for me. So actually, in terms of what I've done in other parts of my career, this has been the challenge of going, I can only communicate with that.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Okay.
You look at career, Jack.
I've been given the tap that we need to finish, so I want to know, first of all, is there anything, you guys know the play, the production so much better, what did we not cover we should really know about Churchill's Urinal?
Churchill's a great man. No, I don't know. I mean, the reason why I think Churchill is very interesting is because he is so, he's become so divisive, and he's become such a sort of lightning rod for a lot of cultural issues that are now going down in this country. And you do have people like Boris Johnson would be so sort of slavish in his love for Winston Churchill and how he wanted to emulate Winston Churchill, and how Winston Churchill was the best Prime Minister ever. And then you do have people on the left who rightfully pointing out about Churchill's sort of involvement in the Bengal famine and things like that, and the fact that he was pretty racist and all of that kind of thing. And I think it's very interesting how people on wherever they sit on the political divide, they will emphasise or highlight certain aspects of Winston Churchill, and it's become less about the undoubtedly complicated person he was, and more about what people feel represents Britain today. And I think that's very interesting.
And one-word answers from Michael and Dan. Should Churchill's actual urinal be preserved?
Oh, yes, otherwise I'm out the job.
Dan, should it?
Yeah, put it in Trafalgar Square.
In Trafalgar,
I
that's
think
the
that's
right
a
choice.
perfect idea.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Rosie, remind us, the show is booking here at the King's Head until?
June the 6th.
June the 6th. So audience, you've been wonderful. I appreciate you staying, particularly on such a sunny bank holiday weekend. You are now officially ambassadors for the Urinal. So we ask you, if you are on social media, we're going to budge up and do a group shot. Please take photos, share it on platforms of your choice. Grab flyers, tell people, stop people in the street, and come again. And join me, please, in thanking and wishing this amazing company great luck for the rest of the run and Edinburgh. Thank you to Michael and Daniel.
Thank you.